And we're live with the panel discussion on integrating manufacturing with artificial intelligence. And we're going to be discussing how AI technologies are transforming the manufacturing industry by driving efficiency, innovation, and competitiveness. With us, we have a fabulous panel of industry experts across a number of different regions, different applications of these technologies. So, if we could just take a moment, we're going to do some self introductions in alphabetical order, and then we'll dive right into the discussion. Fernando, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Introduction with of
Yeah, with a self introduction, and then
from the panel.
an introduction of yourself.
Okay.
Like, sorry
Hello.
about yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. Sorry, you get me off. Sorry. My name is Fernando Ortiz. I'm from Mexico. I'm a professor from Tamaulipas University, and also I'm helping manufacturing association in Mexico to get their IT and artificial intelligence processes. Uh, I'm usually a researcher. We have five conferences around the world. One of semantic web, one of machine learning, one of e-government, and one new conference what we celebrated last month in Spain on sustainability and artificial intelligence. So we are not making a huge efforts in different areas of artificial intelligence, but at least three or four, and we are focusing here in Mexico on manufacturing. Thank you for your invitation, Joaquin.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Fernando. Ronak, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ronak Patel, co-founder and CEO at Sunflower Lab. Um, it's been around 15 years. We started our company, which is primarily focusing on how to use the technologies to transform the business, solving the business problem, and a different technology stacks. And again, from all the way from web applications to mobile applications and IoT and process automation and AI, new kids on a block, right? So again, all the technologies we're using it to transform. I'm technologist at heart and kind of entrepreneurs to building the different digital companies, which kind of help the organizations to build a digital solution. And happy to be here on the panel.
Thank you, Ronak. Sruthi?
Hi everyone, Shruti here. I work as an AI consultant in a company at ETMS. At ETMS, we basically do a lot of model-based systems engineering stuff, which is quoted as MBSE, that is predominantly used in production systems such as aerospace and automotive. I'm currently located in Germany, and I also have a special focus on AI. Basically, that's the focus, AI for MBSE. And I also kind of come from the domain of a little bit of backend by computer vision, where I was working in a retail chain called Titan, where we did a lot of manufacturing and retail use cases using computer vision. And now I work on both the research projects and research projects and client projects, where research projects involved a consortium, which is a combination of academia and industry coming together, solving a problem statement, mostly in the domain of MBSE. And then the client projects involve production-based setting or process automations, especially in the traceability systems, which is nothing but the whole process management lifecycle, tracing all these artifacts throughout the manufacturing process and providing custom solutions according to the use case, with the special focus on knowledge graphs. And I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Shruti. So with that, we have plenty of brain power to throw around this very diverse and expansive topic. I think one of the first areas that we might want to explore as a panel is the difference between everyday AI and advanced AI. And this is something that we were talking about prior to starting the recording, prior to jumping into this discussion. So, with that, Ronak, would you like to just define
Yes,
these terms and give us
sure.
some domain?
Absolutely. Um, The AI is a big buzzword, and everyone's getting carried away about what AI can do and cannot do, and so on. So, when we are talking to different industry leaders, they want AI to solve every problem they have. Well, it's building a new product to solving their process automations to all the way this the reducing the labors or increasing the productivity, reducing the errors, or reducing the production time, or maybe reducing the cost. And they want AI to be the answer. But in reality, when we go, the AI adoption has a different curve of adoptions, and you need to be really knowing what is your organization a willingness to as a risk ability. That's number one, right? Where you want to use the AI. AI can be used in many different things. um, we usually talk the two type of AI: a game changer AI and maybe the everyday AI. If you are not a risk tolerance, or you do not have the budget, or you are not really are ready to take on those things, and yet you got to wait on that. It's not for everyone. So you start some things with the everyday AI. Now you may be using a normal user LLM models or chat GPTs, writing some emails or some basic automation. Your organization could be start using it, creating the PowerPoint presentations and so on. Now your existing SaaS product will also coming with some of the AI component. Good, you start adopting that. That's the everyday AI. Some small thing, you're not really investing a big. You don't really need a lot of skills to use those technologies, because you are just like you're just the consumer part of it. Now, when we're talking about a game changer AI, and we'll speak a little bit more on that, because that's where people want to use the game changer AI in every places, but they do not have a budget, no risk tolerance, and no wait time. Like or like, well, the things may not even work completely, right? So those mindset are not there. So we need to be the C-level executives need to really understand where we are going toward. Now I take examples of building a new product. Now building a new products with AI, when we start those type of a project, a game changer AI. Now, humans been creating, and I take particular examples of um, outdoor decoration companies. When you're going outdoor and you just say going a zoo or cities, right? A Christmas decorations or big decorations that are happening. There are company creating different designs for that one. You may be seeing the Santa Claus, and you may be every time a new designs and new structures will be created. Now, we know all this data again, but that will be a construction of those materials based on the new objects. I need a 15-feet Santa Claus, not a 5 feet you put it last year. I need something new. Those companies are constantly getting the designers work with the manufacturing to do the custom build for those things and creating. There may be a lot of parts can be reused. Their inventory after 40, 50 years in a business gone so big, they don't even know how many parts they may create very similar parts. There is a humanly impossible to find out that this part can be replaced with the existing part we already have, a spec file or staff file, right? In the manufacturing, you have the staff file created, how to create. So again, those things are humanly impossible. Now AI is not an option here. They not came to us for AI as an option, like, hey, should I do it? Should I know? You cannot scale your current business with the humans. Here's the AI comes in a place. Your normal design taking 2 months to produce the new object or new design. Now we reduce the time to a 1 week. So what we did is we used the AI models. We use YOLO as a models to like the text to speech is just getting all these different objects. We did the more fine tuning to this model. It now giving you an image of the 2D image. Now we taking this 2D image on approval of that. Now we also doing some vision APIs as part of it, where it kind of like overlaying and finding it out your existing part and say, well, this part may be match here. So now highlighting the objects and say, you may be only 70% of the parts from your existing inventory can be used to build a new a design for decoration design. And then they say, well, this is the cost, and immediately based on the past experience, we predicting the cost to the customer. So while your new designs is this ballpark number, now the whole process of asking me, I need a 15 for Santa Claus and it's going to cost me this much. If I know within a week, I may move quick, right? Maybe I don't spending a time, maybe is above my budget, is okay or not. So there are a lot of city officials getting involved, the zoo, they do this, all the programs and so on. So the end of the day, their business cannot scale with the current structure. It's not possible. And even though they want to do the human, they keep creating the new parts very similar, they already have it. So it's not an answer, the human cannot do it. You cannot train human to having 10,000 like a different parts or SKUs need to be known by their characteristics and so on. So this is a perfect examples, is a game changer AI. Now a next version of it, they want to eliminate all these peoples in this loop and say, well, human, a customer directly put their descriptions with that. It's like, hey, I need a Santa Claus, but I need on a horse. It should be there. And here you go. The design comes in with the ballpark estimate. So again, this is the good example for every like a game changer AI. Everyone need to explore high risk. You have to be risk tolerant. You need to get started. You need to allocate the budget, considering there will be a zero return on that one, and you will be spending a time for as well. So if you're ready, this is for you.
Sruthi, what are your observations there?
I think the first thing that I really liked about Ronak's point was the ability of taking risks. He highlighted it in several sentences of how do you make the AI more ready, like we would call it the readiness level, for example, like how ready is your AI for development, for production, or is it something that you are willing to invest on to get certain kind of like information out of it. And also when Ronak mentioned about several like YOLO models, and now coming from those YOLO models which are meant for training and object detection tasks to all this like vision transformers, like the LLMs or lava models or GPT-4 vision, everything coming into place. So how do you see this comparison? Because from a pricing perspective, YOLOs are going to cost like you way lesser than how do you do object detection rather than going for a more creative task. So I was a bit curious about like how would you kind of like define the readiness level in terms of the costs that it is going to increase, and is there a way that we can kind of like circumvent this problem to using like more traditional models for solving the same problem?
Yeah, so what we did is like some of the model we tried to we started with the strategies to be um, having the full control, right? More fine tuning ability type of model, right? Not like something is hosted outside. Because we work with the enterprises, they like to keep the data inside. So we kind of gone on more like a private cloud or something is more within their boundaries and train the model. And I think those models, right, you don't pay anything afterward except the infrastructure. So we kind of like start picking up the models where we kind of like change it. We kind of like do the fine tuning. We got a new versions, and you can even do the pattern on that one. So that's I think the great. Well, companies say, well, I invest into that one. Would that be a public? Can my competitor use that? No, they cannot. That particular model has been trained with your data and can stay within the boundary of your organization, and you can keep using. Now, infrastructure cost is still high. We like to be kind of like a lower GPU cost. We are not there yet, right? And again, if you see the 2x rules, right, of every hardwares and all those infrastructures goes, even in futures will go down and down. Or maybe I think the like production capability or the power of GPU CPU goes double, and every 2 years the price goes in half, right? So and that's been a law, right? So we are again the a cost conscious too when we are doing it. We're trying to do not using is a lot of a paid API. We can abuse a lot of models when we have seen the great success. Sometimes we don't get carried away with a big name. We use even a DALI mini. We got a better success on some of the free open source like models, and we kind of like fine tune, and we got a way better result on that one. So again, you don't have to pay. Yes, you got to pay for infrastructures on those things, but again, you can own the IP as organizations and continue building very specific model for your org.
Fernando, you've been seeing some of these adoption efforts take place in a variety of manufacturing centers, as you were mentioning before. What have been some of the insights that you've derived from being part of those experiences?
Well, I have two in my mind right away, just hearing Ronak and Sruthi. Return of investment. Yes, when we are just applying for a new technology or buying new technology or letting some labor out of the company, when I'm gonna recover my investment. So when artificial intelligence software or implementations here in Mexico go, it was because return of investment is 2 years tops. So that make uh, a go for the management, even if works or not. How they're gonna return of the technology investment, and that's crucial. And the other thing that ring my bell here is that how can we convince management, because they are focusing two things: delivered orders on time and business continuity. On manufacturing, those two things are crucial. So how this technology impacts business continuity and orders on time with the client. So how do you merge this technology with those key indicators for them?
Yeah. So I think first thing, in many of the business, right, the every decision start with the ROI. Where if you keep looking the ROI, which is short-term goals, right, maybe a quarterly or a yearly. If you don't look the long-term goals for our organization, you may be replaced with other company which is using AI. And that point, ROI is not even in pictures. You will be completely replaced. In my previous examples I gave, the outdoor decoration company, that will disturb the market. There are other competitor. They will be a year or 2 years behind. They cannot compete in the price eventually. They may be are right now, but eventually the AI can reduce their cost significantly lower because you're not having a lot of designers need to be employed, and the speed of the process you're providing quotations, you're capturing the bigger market share and so on. Again, a digital worker, in my previous session I said, you're not depending on creating a human, training them, they are going away, you got to hire new one. Your constant battle on your uh, operational floor, where you could be having just a digital worker and peace of mind and scale your business. So when your leaders are not ready for the long term vision, this is not the talk for them. I think we need to be having a clarity on the long term. If you do not do that, what happened in 3 years from now? And adopting the technologies time, it's not going to really help you. You are so way behind, your organizations is way behind. So every company need to really think a strategical long-term planning and thinking and investment. Otherwise you will be replaced with the company with using the AI and automations and that's in a nutshell. So we always face this like, hey, it doesn't meet my ROI. Well, it will not meet your ROI in this quarter.
Yeah,
it will not. Yeah.
this is not meaning that we are trying to or sell artificial intelligence technology. We're trying to get rid of the fixed mindset of management,
Yes, correct.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a mindset game. It's not about a technology is just a very low impact. It's the leader's mindset and where they want their orgs to be. And in any sectors or any industry you see, there are leaders who will make this move, and there are leaders who will always stay behind the ROI, and they never do it, right? And they get behind. Now your choices is in that leader's hand. Is not on us as a technologist to do that. So if what are the choices they make, sooner or later they will get to it. They will pay the higher price. So the risk, low risk, higher price, high risk, and you have the early entry point, you have advantage. So it's organization choices.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really
Yeah, just something to add for Ronak's point. So basically, I feel now everybody are willing to try at least what AI could bring to their use cases, whether it's like a thing that they want to try out as a proof of concept or a thing that they want to try out using certain paid APIs. Like, for example, when Azure launched the API services, we had like a flood of people wanting to try API services for different use cases. So I feel we are going into the direction where people start to think about which process could be automated. And then they are also having this a small question mark of can AI make a bigger impact here without compromising any of the costs that I'm already paying, or can it increase or at least on par with the current ROI that I'm making for this particular process. So this is also like a pattern that I'm constantly seeing, whether it's like the research projects that we work on in a consortium. There is always a client that comes and says in that, hey, we came across this and we want to implement this to check if it is working for the data that we have at hand. So data is also the key question, and also the ability to kind of give that effort to build something, test it for yourself, have the users, and then deciding whether this is like a thing that you want to roll it into production, or is it something that you want to use it internally to make it better and better. So this will be like the research, and in turn gives you the ROI that you're always wanted to have for a particular process.
Thank you very much for painting that perspective, as the only limiting factor to adopting or not adopting is mindset. It's risk versus reward, but ultimately it's really based on fear. Um, so let me ask you, data management was something you highlighted, Shudri. As we've seen in traditional manufacturing centers, there's a fragmentation of functions, and there are a variety of different softwares that are used, sort of keeping things siloed in different areas. What are some of the ways that AI is supporting the integration of all these different functional areas of a manufacturing center?
Yeah. So before I even start with like the process, you rightly pointed out there is always a huge set of tools that are used across a manufacturing unit, whether it's the SAP systems that you use or some kind of documentations in form of PDF files that you receive from different people. You keep track of things in a way that is understandable to people or domain experts who are working in a particular company. So we quote this term as traceability, basically, where you need a tool. At the end of the day, you need a tool to bring everything together if you want to do compliance or something like that. So we call the whole term as traceability. It's very much used in the automotive domain. At least there is like interest for using it. And then there comes the key question. You have data, you have this fragmented data, and now you want to do a AI model or train an AI model or fine tune an AI model. Is your data AI ready? Is the question that you need to ask for oneself. Because coming from an AI perspective, we have been always confronted with different types of data. Sometimes the data is not really ready for AI, and we spend a lot of time in cleaning the data, understanding their process or how they are making it. So, first, as a first step in data management, I would really like to point out who owns the data, like which particular team or which particular person is taking care of this data, how is this being maintained so that it can be AI ready. And we are also constantly researching on several technologies on how to store this data. So one thing that we have done is use of the traceability knowledge graphs, where we store this as a knowledge graph format and do deep and enhanced analytics. And the second thing is when we had like SQL databases, we still have SQL databases, but having such kind of dependencies between your data is really not very much suitable for doing that process automation. So we moved into like the NoSQL databases, which they are used predominantly. And then now we are slowly moving into different technologies of storing your data, like data lakes, for example, that you always store whatever data that you have, and then you extract essential parts for training your AI model or doing your process automation using some other technology. And then there is also the concepts of data mesh, for example, where people come together and take ownership of interoperable teams, basically, where each team has an authority, and it's kind of like a decentralized process. So you request for data, and then you get the data, whatever you want to use, so that you know who's the product or data product owner that you want to talk to. And the pattern that is being evolved in the data space needs to be even more enhanced, because data is the oil and fuel of whatever you do within the company. And also, coming back to the AI, having that kind of data management system already solves majority of your problem. And then you come to the part where AI is really fueling you to make this even better and better, so that you reach the key process indicators of what you want to achieve with the AI model. So for me, one of the important things that I always ask, whatever use case that I take upon, is that how does the data look? Is the data good enough for us to do something with it? Or what should we do in order to make the data good enough for your model to come across and then work on with it? So data, for me, is the key performance indicator of how your AI model is performing. Good data, good model. So we call it garbage in, garbage out. So having such kind of clear cut explanations with proper data management strategies, it's not a immediate process. You cannot go on to and say a person that, hey, you should clean up your data, but it's a slow and progressive environment that one has to include in the company, so that the culture of using AI becomes more easier, I would say, and more on the loop. You don't see AI as a component which comes as a black box, rather than something that you could work with like a co-pilot, as they quote it. So some of my observations of what has been going on in the research and industrial context that we have been working on in the recent times.
If I can take a comment, Shuri, you are right. Last month I was on different manufacturing sites, and one main thing that happens, it's that all the data is captured in different ways for different with different people, and it's incredible. We're talking Fortune 100 companies, and at the floor shop they're taking data differently. So we never think in train a model with that. Yes, they're far away of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence implementation. Yeah, that's happening in the real world, right?
Yeah.
So Fernando, I mean, you've seen and you've had a hand in integrating some of these fragmented silos of data with ontologies, having that be sort of the orchestrator or the connecting layer of information across all these different systems. What has been the impression, and what has been the challenges that you have had to overcome in implementing these systems, and then giving ownership to the respective area owners of those systems?
Yeah, it's first is we need to train people or educate people, because the terms we are talking here is not like usually talk around with the people around you, you know. So when you go into the manufacturing company, they're just worry about delivering, production, downtime. So they're not worried about how to capture data, how to convert this data into a one communicating software like ontologies to integrate systems for decision taking. So it's many years ago in Emerson Electric, we try these technologies, and we have good results on just in quality area. So they get the data from different sources and put it on ontology, and at least we try to like map where the data come from, so they can assist production in a efficient way. But at this time, if you look at the 3,000 companies here in Mexico, ontologies and semantic web is far away from implementation. So They have other different systems that they usually is technology proof. Like they say, there's no risk. Like Ronak talk about, we need to take some risk. They don't want to take some risk, so they just have a computer vision just to check defects on production, and they don't use the data for statistics or some, just to check. So it's very limited also the implementations, and that's the, I guess, Joaquin, Ronak, Sruthi, that's one thing we need to change here, because they don't know how to use it. It's not, maybe the risk is because they fear, like Joaquin said, because we fear the unknown. You know, when we see the results, or when we see the good things, we stop with the fear. So management, I'm not talking about the managers, I'm talking about VPs and up. They need to change mindset, and they need to let, I guess at this time, let a combination between companies and labs, because that may reduce the cost of some risky implementations there, you know. But it's a harsh way, or harsh path to implement this. At least not on headquarters. At least from in countries that are just manufacturing sites for operations.
So
But
I've been involved in the event production and media production in the semantic web space for 4 years, and I acknowledge the language is very dense and heady. It's not something that anybody can just pick up and go with. It requires some studying and understanding how it applies to real practical settings. But you know, as you mentioned, education is a large part of this campaigning effort to be able to adopt these in a pragmatic sense. Um, in between full implementation and partial and no implementation, what is the partial implementation that begins to build some sort of confidence and doesn't require so much of a high investment? What is the Trojan horse to begin sort of smoothing over the fears and concerns of risk adverse management or executives that you've encountered in your industry experience?
I guess results.
Yeah, I think you can start with this out of the shelf products, right? Like say you're a manufacturer, so you're doing the quality checks, and you want to try it out. There are AI or vision, like kind of like taking the pictures and seeing the product, like a QA, right? The quality assurance part, right, for the product. There are a lot of the shelf products out there. Yes, you don't have to build anything from scratch. You can try it out. It does work for you, great. You can increase your quality check process, and a small is everyday process. Start finding something small, adopt that one, use that one, and then kind of like enhance from that one. So those organizations need to start something small, but constantly doing a department by department, and then eventually you can say, well, we're using a lot of AI, and not even use the word AI. Sometimes they get like you just say, well, we are using some automation process, which is kind of like doing the checks, taking the pictures, and telling you or helping you if the products has a defect, which is sometimes the human eyes cannot capture perfectly the way the high quality cameras can. So small processes don't really need a lot of integrations, easy to roll out, and within a weeks you can start rolling it out of one thing at a time.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Yeah. Oh, surely, please.
Yeah, I agree too, but it's also like I would somewhere give it like a partial effort that it is needed, at least in domains and industries that I have been involved with. So basically, you rightly pointed out, like Fernando also mentioned, the use of like ontologies and semantic webs. And I feel like model based systems engineering is one such domain where we have always like a complex ontology for several use cases. Because if you think about like a car, it has a lot of components. Let's just take like one thing, which is like a engine control unit called the ECU. You have a lot of connections for this particular ECU, and each car is different. They have variations management, etc., etc. So I feel in the domain of model based systems engineering, in the projects that I have been involved with, there is this legacy data. This is basically the ontology where they have modeled all these complex ontologies, and somebody has a experience of all having this knowledge about how this ontology looks like, and there is like a meta model which is also like an explanation of how the ontologies is structured and stuff. um, so basically what we use AI in such cases is that we are seeing if we could simplify this ontology for someone who wants to interact with the ontology without knowing what's there in the background. So the end users who wants to just ask simple questions like how many how many things are connected to my engine control unit, which equipment is most important. So asking all these simple questions involves a certain kind of partial effort, because again it's not like an AI problem but more like a data problem. If you construct the data in a meaningful way, then you come to the conclusion that you want to give users a tool to play with, where they ask all these questions and you see how the user is interacting with the system, and you build your technologies in the back end accordingly to the data that they interact with or the kind of questions that we ask. And I also want to emphasize that it is partial because of the complexities which are involved in the data. But for other domains, I think this is a little bit different. But for complex domains which involve like lot of connections and systems, I feel it requires a little bit of partial effort in making this a little bit more polished for the user to give. Because if we are going there without any fine tuning or such, then the AI might throw you some information which is not really like necessary for you. But I also completely agree with Ronak that start small and then also do like partial efforts in making this as a interactive feedback setting, so that you get like fruitful results at the end, addressing the actual problem statements of the end users, I would say.
I think one of the running themes here is how difficult is it to show results relatively quickly, and how risky is that existing solution. I mean, Ronak, you mentioned that there are things that work out of the box, but even in this conversation, AI is such an expansive thing, and it means so many different things. In a manufacturing center, you have the databases that we mentioned. You have unstructured data, a bunch of documents that are being sent from your organization to pay for your suppliers, or to send invoices to the people that are purchasing things from you. Um, so, can we break this apart in a few different areas? We mentioned computer vision, IoT, generative AI, and modeling twins. Maybe we could just deep dive in 5 minutes into each of these technology groups and come up with some insights from your individual experiences. So I don't know if we want to talk about computer vision and some of the things that you've seen work and don't work with that kind of technology.
Okay, I can start with I guess digital twins, and we can start from there. And uh, production is 24/7. So when we talk about continuous production around the clock and all the year, there is no people to handle that, because they need to sleep or eat, or they may be some not sick in Mexico but sick around the world. And at the end, they need to start. They need to keep focus on production. So with the digital twins, like we can have a chance to get these machines maintenance uh, with a focus. We can set some settings from home. So the fix, I guess the fix way they usually make production 20 years ago is still is still here, but they need to move with this technology. Like digital twins is working very good in Europe, and they are helping people to get into a production without being there, and making some fix at the machines like temperature, pressure, or other things from wherever they are. So I guess this is the paradigm of the flying, right? You can control a plane from your home. That's a big impact on manufacturing. It is still, I guess, in Mexico, still is not making some results still, because also the technology is very new in manufacturing. Also, there's many years on digital twins, but I guess this technology will, as Ronak said, change the gamer. Uh, the way they usually, because the fixed mindset of production is you need to be on floor shop. There's no need to be there, but you need to be aware of that. So we need to change the mindset of that. I don't know. We can talk other technology, but I guess Ronak actually want to make some comment on digital twins.
Yes, Shruti, you can take the vision. I will probably take the small one. So like making the impact and kind of getting into the organization to get things started. You can always train small language models very specific to the task you're doing, um, like every day. And again, those are not a huge um, things to kind of like start getting into it and penetrating to the organization. So you can have the small language model to be deployed and performing certain tasks. And with the help of the intelligent automations, or you can may hear the word AI assistant, right? There are certain tasks can be done as assistant to you and can be performed, um, maybe doing the repetitive task and so on. So those things are very easy to adopt. It doesn't really need enterprise connectivity, not a lot of data connectivity, nothing. What they just trying to replicate what the one individuals are doing it and seeing that, hey, how many repetitions are and how we can automate that. Some I talked about the HR AI assistant, kind of answer you all the common questions, or maybe compliance department, or maybe the maintenance department, and just say, well, this part has been out, and what is the time of replacing? How long my assembly line will be stuck here, and so on. So those things are can be easily implemented, very specific to their org, and the organization could be looking on those things where intelligent automation or using the small language model or large language models in certain fashions to get organizations ready for on that angles.
True. Just quoting few things from my personal experience on like the vision models and also like digital twins. I think digital twins right now, knowledge crafts play a very pivotal role in establishing this digital twins, etc. I have only like done the research on kind of like understanding how knowledge crafts will foster digital twins in several industries, not only like manufacturing but also like others like retail, for example, is also like excessively using like digital twins for many of the tasks. So since digital twins are still far from the reality right now in many companies, but I think everybody sees it as a future, that it would be a good to have but not a immediate thing to have, like how Fernando mentioned that uh, probably people are aware, but there is like no like a very much like a effort to make it happen right now, right here. So the mindset should change as we are kind of like having the conversation here. And when it comes to like vision in manufacturing, I have worked with a very big manufacturing plus retail unit, that's like the Titan, which is a part of Tata Enterprises, where they have a lot of retail products like um, glasses, watches, spectacles, and etc. So I was involved in building a machine vision system. This was like 5 years ago, 5 6 years ago, I guess, where they were able to understand deformations that happen in optical lenses before they go into spectacles. So they do this process manually, where they kind of like look into a lens and see if this is good for production or not, where they thought AI could help at that point in time 6 years ago. This was before like the wave hit them. They were investing in kind of finding this manufacturing use cases, and they translated that into watches as well, because watches also has certain kind of glasses that were manually supervised, and they found a really good use case that they changed the manufacturing process with certain very small algorithms that were able to segment the images as they want, and doing certain algorithms on top of it. And I think like I think like Fernando or Ronak pointed out, they gave the system without mentioning that it's AI, but mostly they marketed it internally as something like they want to test this on how the factory workers perceive this. If they give them a machine to place their lenses and see if there is like good clarity of whether this lens is suitable or not, the human is still in loop, but the effort of how they are estimating the deformations that happen in these optical lenses have changed the way that they kind of overlook the production errors or something that they want to get as a quality. And also like this is like one part of vision application that I thought might be interesting for the panel. And second thing is I feel vision applications have been a huge impact in autonomous driving. And coming from Europe, I shouldn't like also like leave out the market boom, which is the automotive autonomous driving, where they constantly use different sensors like cameras, where we use like the YOLO models, and also like how to make the AI more efficient in terms of vision. For example, we also have a division for green AI, green efficient AI, where one of my colleagues also work on optimizing all this models that you're deploying in the edge hardware, edge AI stuffs, especially for vision tasks like pedestrian detection or vulnerable road user detection, as you call it, which I think would be the great loop in establishing this AI models in a production ready hardware to make it in a real time operations and process. So, quoting from my personal experience, I feel digital twins are getting there. I don't have a timeline in my mind when we will get there, but all the vision applications in production lines in retails and autonomous driving are thriving to come faster and faster. The space in which the companies are rolling out certain things to fit in a particular hardware or to give it to certain companies out of the box, etc., are playing a pivotal role in changing how we see vision models, how as humans see vision, and how AI as a entity sees the vision operations that happen within the domains, I would say.
You know, one thing that I'm constantly astounded by is just the uh, sheer amount of volume of knowledge that you need to have to be able to navigate these conversations. I'm astounded every time I have these conversations, how many interrelated concepts there are. But one insight, just having this discussion with you guys and listening to you talk about the different components of gaining adoption of these technologies in enterprise, is that it might not just fall on the mindset and fear based response of not knowing what you don't know, but some of this stuff is a consequence of not really having an idea on knowledge management practices or business continuity efforts. I mean, when you go into most organizations, it's a bit of a mess because nobody creates their own standard operating procedures. I mean, even just in that realm, there's not a lot of people documenting what they do, what they know, how they know. Some people do it because they don't know. Some people do it because they don't want to be replaced, etc. But yeah, that propagates further with the lack of experience with data and digital file management. I mean, those are very core tenets to being able to bring this further into the AI adoption. Do you guys have any thoughts around that or observations in your implementation efforts?
I have a comic experience with computer vision. because they ask for a computer vision just to make sure that they don't have defects. One piece of so they broke the systems and they start to check, but they're checking holes on the tablet, and they want to check screws. How many screws are putting on the tablet? And they fix the system to check holes. So from the beginning, it was wrong, and they just change after that. But that's a comic experience because they want to fix something, and they at the end didn't fix anything. Well, they turn and they use it right now, right? But at the beginning is one thing we talk here, data. They just don't know how to ask this, and maybe like Therese tell that we need to tell the manufacturing companies is just other IT system more for them, not artificial intelligence, and make some fear that is a different kind of this. At the end, is technology, right? You can make it, but you need to reduce that fear on people.
So is that a common theme that you've encountered, that people frequently don't have a clear set of functional specifications, or they don't really know what they need before they start implementing these technologies, Fernando?
Yes, that's why I'm telling you that we need to educate, and mostly these kind of events, conferences around the world, talks, private talks, that helps. Many artificial intelligence suppliers talks also helps.
Ronak, Sruthi, anything on knowledge management or even just data and digital file management?
I just from my observations, I feel like systems like RAG, for example, has kind of made us to think in the direction of how to manage our knowledge better. And I feel RAG is one of the most popular use cases out there because it helps people to manage their knowledge and ask questions about their data. This is just my observation. So I feel like knowledge management itself is a huge topic. There are companies who has established knowledge management, but this was before the digital era. Like you have to also think about the history of how a company would have evolved, like the bunches of paper that they had, someone has digitalized it, and now we have like digital data sharing with the advancements of drives, hard drives, and maybe enterprise specific file management systems and everything. But how this knowledge is scattered is kind of still not known to many people. And I feel applications like RAG, even before RAG, like semantic search, for example, was used in companies to find like more meaningful insights about what they had with data, etc. And this kind of knowledge management is definitely needed so that the stakeholders are kind of intact of what they want to do and where they want to look for an information. And scaling is always in my mind whenever I think about a system. So I feel knowledge management with scalability will be the only way that we could thrive together in the future of how we have done the processes, or how we have address certain issues in the past, rather than going back into cycles of not having that particular knowledge management system. So if you ask me if there is a knowledge management system, yes, it's there, but it's all in the domain experts or people's mind who have done that before, who have that grasp of everything together. So having certain kind of like search mechanisms, a simple semantic search, or having such as like RAG systems, a co-pilot just for your company to know about the processes and methods that has been done in the company would be a good place to start with. As Ronak mentioned, there are also like open source technologies like Olama introduced this open web UI. I think they changed the name, but there is open web UI that you could deploy on premises and ask the users to see if you could efficiently manage a HR management system. Or like I also saw some examples about doing the travel bookings. Like once you travel for the company, then you have to get the invoices and stuff. So like you can have the assistant to check those kind of systems inside your company to see if this could be something that you could start with as a starting point of knowledge management. So I see AI playing a key role in establishing this kind of practices.
Yes. So I kind of like a second Shruti, whatever she said, right? I think is absolutely there is a lot of entry point there. Multiple department can use those systems. And again, you can start using this knowledge base and using the RAG systems. And again, there's an open AI, like there are a lot of tools where you kind of deploy, and it's just a matter of weeks, not years. And you kind of like start rolling those things out, taking advantage of it. And I know we talked to various topics, but again, back to that, right? We need to um, dream big and like think big, but act small, right? I think that's where we can get started.
And one small comment on knowledge management. Uh, we My experience in manufacturing companies, I start working on manufacturing companies, and there is a lot of meetings all day. Yes, they have most meetings on time. That's a big issue, but that's not the issue. The issue here is that they usually make meetings to solve things. So they create knowledge and they solve. But people is moving from company to company, and they are moving with the knowledge. So knowledge management systems really apply to the results of those meetings, that they can go back and recover that knowledge of the meetings and solve the same issue that came like 2 years after that meeting. So if the people that solve is not in the company, there is no data or database or knowledge base to go into and recover that information. That's a common issue on manufacturing. There's a lot of meetings. There is no knowledge capture of those meetings, and they usually repeat the same after and after.
I think that's also part of the reason why open science is leading the adoption of fair data. I
Yeah.
mean, even just the principles of fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, that applies to knowledge management as a whole. Um, but we're drawing close on time. Are there any words of wisdom or advice that you can impart to somebody who is looking to get into the manufacturing space and affect change in the slightest way possible? I know we're thinking big, but what is the smallest way to get involved with any kind of technology?
I guess Ronak and Shuri told small changes, small results, and a smooth implementation of artificial intelligence, they will make people believe on the results, from my point of view. Okay.
Yep, I totally agree on that one. And I think we need to start again smaller use cases. Shruti talk about RAG. Those are the entry point for organizations. Use out of the box softwares, right? Microsoft Copilot or some of the automations thing. You don't have to invent the technologies. You don't have to risk it, right? Um, you start there, and eventually you will find more use cases on your own. You like companies may not even not like knowing on a day one, right, how it can be applicable in other places, but you start at one, and eventually the knowledge base of those things will spread, and then you find more applicability within your organization.
I totally agree with both Fernando and Ronak. Start small. Um, Maybe send like a form that asking people like which of the day-to-day process that you want to automate, asking the end users, and then get a collective feedback of how they are perceiving it, and then start with that one use case that you think that you can implement immediately. Because I have heard from many people that if you ask what's your problem, people always come up with a lot of problems, but when you ask like which is your biggest problem, then there comes the distribution of data that you want to take and work on with it. So it's very important to kind of like pin down the most simple statement to get started with, and then work your way through to the biggest problem statement that you want to solve. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for the conversation today.
Well, thank you very much, Fernando, Ronak, and Sruthi. It's been a lovely time talking to you all. And I hope that just this panel adds a drop of knowledge into the collective well of good meaning initiatives to get this information spread further.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
We're going to
That's-
take a brief intermission. If people are going to grab lunch or go network, please do so. But we'll be back with some more presentations later in the day. So,
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.